We're going to get started with the incident with Robert Fico on Wednesday. This was happening just as we were in the middle of Extra, and we saw some of the headlines coming in. It was being discussed in the chat box and so on. But I wanted to look at what's behind this, because first of all, bringing on the Interior Minister from Slovakia, he was suggesting that Slovakia is on the verge of civil war. The gunman shot 5 times. The first information we have is that it was a politically motivated act. But the question in my mind is it politically motivated in the sense of local politics, or is there something else going on? Now, before we answer that question, let's just have a look at some of the mainstream media coverage from the UK. Really, the message from mainstream media in the UK has been, well, he was a friend of Russia, so, why worry about it? So the Telegraph here, how Robert Fico's turned Slovakia into one of Russia's only allies. The country's prime minister is reportedly in a life-threatening condition after assassination attempt. The Financial Times had a similar take on it, but they were sort of harking back to this article from a month or so ago. No, I think this was, April 2024. Pro-Russia candidate Peter Pellegrini elected Slovakia president. So the message is that Slovakia has become a pro-Russia country. This was the Guardian yesterday. He's borrowing from Trump, the rise of Robert Fico, Slovakia's populist leader. So we're getting the message very strongly here that he was a Trump-like figure and therefore not flavour of the month with the West. And indeed, here's Foreign Policy magazine. Russia just helped swing a European election. So the presidential election in Slovakia is being blamed on Russia, the result of that, because the West doesn't like it, and therefore Russian disinformation was what it was all about. Slovakia is swamped by disinformation ahead of parliamentary elections, said France 24 back in September last year. At the Atlantic Council in April this year, Slovakia's presidential choice reinforces its anti-Western leanings. And here is CEPA. Slovak vote shows need for NATO action on Russian disinformation. So the question is, what kind of action was taken on the issue of Russian disinformation? Well, the famous Ukrainian organization, the Center for Countering Disinformation, decided to put Robert Fico on their hit list. Now, the hit list on this website has been taken down now, but it's still available on the Wayback Machine if you want to go and have a look at all the names that they had on this list. It is effectively a kill list. It was a kill list. And it seems, well, I'm going to suggest that perhaps this isn't all about domestic politics. Looking at the Telegraph here from September last year, we won't send another bullet to Kyiv, says Slovakia's Prime Minister frontrunner. So Robert Fico made it absolutely clear from September last year that he was not supporting the Ukrainian war, had no intention of supporting the Ukrainian war. And since he's been Prime Minister, he has not been supporting the Ukrainian war. But here's Politico. Slovak PM sends EU NATO members weighing sending troops to Ukraine. Says EU NATO members weighing sending troops to Ukraine. So the fact that France was intending to send, or was contemplating sending troops to Ukraine for boots on the ground was exposed by Robert Fico. So is it a coincidence then that within a few weeks he's been shot? I don't know. I just make the point that, of course, Slovakia, like most countries, is on the receiving end of the NGO CSO complex. So just one example, Open Society Foundation in Slovakia. So therefore, there is a big attempt from the West to make sure that the Western narratives portrayed in the media and in politics in Slovakia, it hasn't gone the West's way. And perhaps this is an example of that. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to end this segment with a short piece of video. You may have seen this, but this took place in the European Parliament a couple of weeks ago.
What I'd like to say is that this is my last intervention in the Parliament. I would like to wish the whole of Europe, the whole of the world, the Russians and the Ukrainians, I wish everybody peace. And if I may, I would like to set free this bird as a symbol of peace, to symbolize that Europe needs peace. Let's let this dove fly above all of Europe. Let's let this dove unite all of us. Let this dove as symbol of peace, has realized that what we need most is really peace.
So Slovakian politicians in the European Parliament and at home calling for peace, absolutely calling for peace, refusing to arm the Ukrainian conflict, the Ukrainian side, and exposing the fact that the West is considering putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. So again, I'm just going to say, to finish off, I question whether this was a domestic political thing. But Ben, I don't really want to hijack you here, but one of the things that struck me about this whole thing in the last couple of days is the narrative that MPs are therefore not safe. This is something that we've heard in the UK, but when we and in mainland Europe as well. But when we look at how many MPs have actually been on the receiving end of this activity, it does seem a bit strange that we've got MPs have got to be told they've got to be scared of their electorates. Do you think MPs should be scared of their electorates from a physical standpoint?
I don't think that we should live in a world where they should fear for their safety out on the street. But the idea that they should be immune from scrutiny or justice is absurd. And achieving a balance between those two things is absolutely crucial.
Yes, indeed it is. So now let's move on from this.